Okay guys, so we've reached the end of our fractions chapter. And as I was deciding what to do next, I just really thought it would be good if we just did some more practice with adding and subtracting fractions, because it's a skill that's not going to go away. You're really going to need it for the rest of your life, especially if you're ever cooking or baking anything. So with that being said, today in IXL we're going to do L.21. And that's adding and subtracting fractions in recipes. And this is something that, if you help your mom bake cookies and things you might need to use, especially if you're ever doubling or tripling recipes like I do often with my big family. So I'm just going to show you how to do some of these problems so we're not confused. So first, how many more cups of sugar than butter are needed? How many more? That means we need to subtract. We need to find the difference. Sugar, 3/4 cup of sugar. Butter is 1/2. Alright, so I'm going to go over here. So we had 3/4 cup of sugar, and my numbers are going to be terrible because I'm left-handed and I have to do this with my right hand. So bear with me. I believe it was 3/4 minus 1/2. I'm going to go back to the IXL just to make sure I got my numbers right. Sugar 3/4, butter 1/2. I am correct. Alright, so we'll go back over there. Alright, now again, we can't do 3/4 minus 1/2. We have to make them have common denominators. So always ask yourself, is the bigger denominator a multiple of the smaller denominator? And the answer to that question is yes. So we're going to take our 1/2 and we're going to change it to fourths. So we have to think, 2 times what gives us 4? And the answer to that is 2. We need to multiply by 2/2 because that's multiplying by 1 to get an equivalent fraction. 1 times 2 is 2, so we end up with 2/4. Now we have our new problem, 3/4 minus 2/4, which we can now do, and my minus sign kind of blended in with my division sign there, or fraction sign, equals, well, we keep our denominator, because that's just telling us the size of our unit. And 3 minus 2 is 1. So our answer to this first problem is 1/4. So in IXL, I'll scroll down and I'll type in 1/4. Woohoo! Brilliant! I got it right. This is the same type of problem. How many more cups of olives than cucumber are needed? So again, we're going to be subtracting. I'm not going to do this problem. I'm actually going to jump up a level, because I can do that since I'm a teacher, and go to the harder types. So this time, if you mix the grapes and blueberries together, how many cups will there be in all? In all. We're mixing them together. That means we're going to add. So, grapes and blueberries. There are 3/4 cups grapes, 1/2 cup blueberries. Alright. I'm not really sure how to just trash this whole page or how to make my eraser bigger. I'm looking around for a trash thing. I don't see it. This can take just a second. Actually, I'll pause it. Okay, I got that away and I went ahead and wrote our numbers here. It's funny, we're actually using the same numbers as we did last time, but now we're adding. So we had already figured out we could change 1/2 into fourths. And when we did that, in the last problem, we ended up with 2/4. So now we have our 3/4 plus our 2/4, and we end up with 5/4. Okay, that is a mixed number, and we don't want to keep mixed numbers. So there's two ways that we can change this from a mixed number. We can divide. We can do 5 divided by 4. 4 goes in one time. That gives us our whole number, and we subtract, and we get a remainder of 1, which gives us our new numerator, which would be 1/4. If that doesn't make sense to you, you can always just take out a whole, which would be 4/4. And I'm just going to write my whole up here that I took out. My beautiful, that was an arrow, by the way. It's wonderful. And then when I subtract my 4/4 out, I get 1/4 left. So then my final answer is 1 and 1/4, just like I got there. I want to try on IXL to get some harder problems up here. So 1, make sure you put a space in your 1/4. Aha, double recipe. That's what I'm kind of looking for. Quantity of peanuts for double recipe. This is still pretty easy. there's 1/4 cup of peanuts. A double recipe would be 1/4 plus 1/4. That's 2/4. Could type in 2/4, or as you know, we can reduce 2/4. We can divide by 2/2, and we would end up with 1/2. Oh, triple recipe for sugar. Where is sugar? Aha, this one's going to be a little bit more confusing, so I'll do that. Let me pause it. Alright, I went ahead and wrote our problem here, so I'll go back and look at IXL, make sure I wrote it right. We want to triple our sugar, which is here, 1/2. So, yes, 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 is what we're working on. So we end up getting 3/2. Same thing I did last time. You can either do your 3 divided by 2, and you end up with your 1. Take out your 2. Remainder of 1, 1 and 1/2. Or you can take your 3/2, take out your whole. I know this is so beautiful. Writing with my right hand. Take out my whole. I'm a beautiful arrow. I get 1/2 here. So our final answer is 1 and 1/2 yet again. So we'll go into IXL, type that in. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm gonna actually jump up a level, maybe get into some of these harder ones. How many more cups of flour than cocoa are needed? So we have 2.5 versus 1 3/4. Alright, I'm gonna pause it so I can go write that in on my paint. Alright, I got it. So we'll be doing 2.5 minus 1 3/4. Alright, we're getting a lot of these halves and 3/4. I must really like these numbers. So we got to make our denominators the same, which we've already done a few times. We can change our halves into fourths, and we end up with 2/4. Alright, so now we have 2 2/4 minus our 1 3/4. Alright, so here's where it gets a little bit tricky. We can't do 2/4 minus 3/4. It doesn't make sense. So we have to do renaming. We essentially have to borrow from a whole. I'm going to mark this 2 out and turn it into 1. Okay, that 1 that I took away from it, I'm going to add into this fraction as a whole. A whole in fourths is 4/4. So I took a whole from the 2 and I'm putting it over here into the fraction. I'm just moving where the whole is. So 2 plus 4 is 6, and I get 6/4. Alright, so my new problem now is 1 6/4 minus 1 3/4. Okay, so 1 minus 1 is 0, obviously. 6 minus 3 is 3. So our final answer is 3/4. So I go back into IXL, put in my 3/4. Super, it says. Yay. This is the same type problem. How many more cups of butternut squash and zucchini are needed? I'm just gonna, I wish I could just skip this one problem instead of going up a level. I don't really want to do the same type of problem again, but I will jump up a level. Ooh, we've got the challenge zone. What quantity of spinach would you need to make a double recipe? Spinach. You have 1 3 cup spinach. Alright, this is the last problem that I'll show you. Alright, pause. Alright, spinach has 1 1/3 cups, and to double it, we would just add that to each other. Okay, I wrote a 2, that should be a 3. 1/3 plus 1/3 is 2/3. It's pretty easy. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 2/3. I know I didn't go over every single type of problem on here, but I think I went over the basics. If you have any questions, you can message me on Google Hangout, video me on Google Hangout, and I can talk to you. Send me an email. I am here to help. You may be wondering if we are going to be taking the chapter test at the end of this chapter. And as of right now, my answer is no to that. There's just many reasons. I'm not there to help you with review. Lexi's never even logged in to the website that we have to use to take our test, and I just think it would be a little bit too difficult to do. So we might do a little bit more review with the adding fractions, and then we're going to be jumping into multiplying and dividing fractions soon. So anyway, hope this video helped. Good luck and have fun!